Hello. It is Michael Gotel, and I am recording for project number 3, titled The Shape of Expression. The big question for this project states: is the translation of lyric poetry impossible? What aspect do you think matters most? Accuracy, sound, meaning, and why? Now, I'm going to address the big question later on, but for now, what I want to do right now is talk about is take a few passages from these different translations of Sappho and Rumi and talk about why they're interesting or why they're challenging moment for the translator, tell how they're effective, and explain how the translations make an impact on the poem and the translation. First up with Sappho, I'm going for a 1949 translation by Richmond Lattimore. And this translation is titled Like the Very Gods. And I am translating the third stanza and the first line of the fourth stanza. And it reads: I can say nothing, but my lips are stricken to a silence. Underneath my skin, the teeniest flame surfaces. Nothing shows in front of my eyes, my ears are muted in thunder, and the sweat breaks running upon me. Fever shakes my body, paler I turn than grass is. Now, the meaning behind that is basically how he's showing how what it feels like when they see that person, they compare him to the very gods. That's basically what that person makes them feel. This this passage is effective for readers because it shows the intensity that the author is trying to get to us. It's trying to show the intensity that the original poem might have had. And showing that intensity, it makes an impact on readers. It impact readers because it shows us exactly what the translator is trying to get through. The next passage I'm going to look at is a 2007 translated version of the same Sappho poem, and it's a 2007 translated version translated by Jim Powell, and it's called In My Eyes He Matches the Gods. And I'm going to again read the third stanza in the first line of the fourth stanza. I can't speak any longer, but my tongue breaks down, and then all at once a subtle fire races out my skin, and my eyes can't see a thing, and a whirring whistle thrums at my hearing. Cold sweats cover me, and tremble takes a hold of me all over. Again, this showing the intensity that the person feels when they see this person that they're comparing to the gods, like in the last translation. This is what makes me think that this is what it's supposed to be in the story. It's supposed to have this intensity feel. It's supposed to have this intense feel to the poem. And it makes me think that the original probably had the same intense feel to it because it makes an impact on readers like this person really has strong feelings for this person they're describing. And it really gets the point across. Now, the next passage I'm going to look at is a translation from Rumi. And the first translation that I want to take a look at is uh it's called well, actually it doesn't have a name, but over here it says Ghazal 441. But it's a poetic translation by Nadar Khalili in 1994. And the passage I'm going to start with is down close to the end of the passage. It's close to the end of the poem, and it says, I seal my lips while my heart weeps. Yesterday, the wisest man holding a lit lantern in daylight was searching around town saying, I'm tired of all these beasts and brutes. I seek a true human. Now, what this passage that says, that I think it says, that this person is tired of his specific life. He's tired of the same people. What he seeks is somebody, some kind of companionship, some kind of true love that he really desires. And it's interesting because when he uses words like beast and brutes, it's kind of like ancient, like old, like words, but we can also recognize it today in modern society. And I think that's what makes the impact on us as the readers, because we understand that this is an ancient saying, but at the same time, we know exactly what it means. So he used like very good words to translate that between translate that between the original poem and what he used. And that's how effective this passage is, because even though beast and brutes, it's like he's comparing the people that he want to be away from to beasts. He compared them to beasts. It can't get no worse than that. And the next translation that I want to read, the next passage from a translation that I like to address, is a 1974 translation of Rumi, and it's from A.J. Arbery. And it starts around the middle, well, a bit more the beginning of the poem, and it says, "By Allah, without your city is a prison for me. I wander. A broad mountain and deserts are my desire. My heart is weary of these weak-spirited fellow travelers. The lion of God and Rustam I disdain are my desire. My soul is sick of pharaohs and tyranny. That light of consciences of Moses, son of Imran is my desire." Now, this passage, when I first read it, when I first started coming upon this, I was like, what are all these names he popping up? Why is this translation popping out all this name, and this other translation was very more shorter and more forward with you, and it was like, what is going on? The use of the names kind of threw me off, but it also made effectiveness, because if you look up these names, you can tell these are if you know, or even if you are familiar with the Islam faith, and you know Allah, and you know Allah is God, and then you can actually tell that the magnitude of what they're trying to say, and you can get that the translator is actually saying something really, really important. And then the translator also says, "Without you, the city is a prisoner for me." So he's showing his feelings for this person once again. He's showing how intense, how emotional, how strong his feelings are for this person. It affects the readers because it introduces us to a new certain type of thing. If we didn't know about it, we didn't know who Allah was, we would be confused. It introduces readers to a new thing, a new person, and it also gets the point across of how strongly the translator feels, and it probably mimics the same feelings from the original poem too. Let's take a moment to review choices that the translator made when they were translating these different passages. Like in Sappho, he used like in Sappho in the 1949 version of Sappho by Richmond Lattimore, how he uses these different words to allude to the intensity of the poem. When he says, "My lips are stricken to silence underneath my skin," that is intense. "The teeniest flame suffice." And then also in 2007 version, "But my tongue breaks down, and then all at once the fire races inside my skin." They both use fire. They both use fire to describe how intense they feel about this person, what this person does to them. In Rumi, we also had talked about the use of the Allah and all the different names in the A.J. Arbery translation, the 1974 translation. and how he chooses to use these words to relay what he feels, and that we get a sense of how important it is comparing them to gods and naming gods. And also in the 1994 version, we understand how the ancient sayings are also recognizable for modern day times. Now for the big question. Dun, dun, dun. I know this project is really short this time. It's very short. It's a very straightforward thing. But with the big question, we got to look at. I got to go back to the big question. The big question states: is the translation of a lyric poem impossible? What aspect do you think matters most? Accuracy, sound, meaning, and why? Now, when I first saw the big question, I had answered no, that I believe that translating a lyric poem is very possible. And then I also said that there's some key factors that need to be present in order for the poem to be fully translated and have the certain elements that the original poem had. And I still stand by that same stance because there are certain things, there are certain aspects that that a translation should have that keeps true to the original poem, but also at the same time keeps the same originality that the original poem was having. And it also need to have like a little modern imprint in it to be able to show like, hey, yeah, I can read this. Like I was saying with the big question, when you translate a poem, you have to keep certain elements of the original poem in the translated poem, but also have to give it that modern touch. For example, in the 1994 Madar Kahilil, I cannot pronounce it, version of the Rumi, how he used ancient sayings, but it's also known in modern days. That was a good way he used it when he translated. But at the same time, when you're translating something in modern times, don't make the message so far off that we don't get a good understanding of what the original is about. That's the whole purpose of translating. Be able to let different generations or different times or whatever people can be able to read a poem, understand what a poem is about without actually having to read the original poem. Well, I guess that is it. Hope I fulfilled all requirements. Hope I get an A. And I hope this was satisfying. Thank you.